Hello everyone, and thank you for tuning into another episode of Hashtag Makeup Together, How to Make a Simple Dinner. So tonight's dinner came from me. I was scrolling through Instagram this afternoon on my lunch break, and I found a recipe for ramen noodles, of all things. And I never really thought of that as something that you could make from home. So I looked at a bunch of different recipes, and I kind of thought of one that I wanted to do. I'm just really going to be making the ramen noodle seasoning and then kind of adding everything else in kind of as I go. So I'm really excited for this because I used to eat ramen noodles, man, I tell you, like every day when I lived on my own when I was younger, and I would just sometimes put like some frozen peas or something in there to kind of spruce it up, but those things are horrible for you. I actually saw this video where somebody was like making part of a bathroom sink, I think it was, out of ramen noodles. So who even knows what the heck are in those things? That's crazy. So that's what I'm going to be trying to do tonight, and I'm going to be adding just some roasted vegetables in there as well. We're going to be adding some asparagus and some squash and some greens and onions, garlic, and a little bit of ground ginger. So the very first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start the water and get the water boiling. I'm just using some gluten-free spaghetti noodles. So I'm going to get the water boiling for that, and then I'm going to cut up the sausage and get that into the pan. So we are just going to be using some regular old kielbasa sausage, and I'm going to cut it up into cubes. If I can open it. Man, these. Bam. So I'm going to just cut this up into some cubes because that's how I want to make it. That looked weird. I don't really like doing it when you just cut it like that because I feel like it goes by faster. So in my mind, if I make it in smaller chunks, it makes me think that there is more. So we're going to cut it like that and cut it up into some cubes. So cut it like that, and then I'm going to make these little cubes with it. So all of my sausage is chopped up, and I'm going to go ahead and put that in the pan. So the next thing that I'm going to be doing is getting the vegetables ready that are going to go into the pan. These are going to be roasted in the oven on 425. So I'm going to add some olive oil to that and set this off to the side since I have so many things in here and not enough room. Okay. There we go. I think we're good now. So we're going to be using some squash. These have already been cleaned up. And then I also have some asparagus. So I saw a bunch of different vegetables that people had in their recipe. People put like egg and stuff in it as well, like a hard-boiled egg, but I don't really want to do a hard-boiled egg in mine. So I'm going to cut these up in relatively small cubes. And then we're going to just roast them in the oven with the asparagus just until it's a little softer. And for the asparagus, I'm actually going to be cutting it into, I'm not going to be doing it whole like that. I'm going to cut it up into about an inch little pieces like so. Little heads there. So yeah, I'm gonna just do them like that and then put them on the pan like that. And then we will chop up the squash. And to cut the squash, I'm going to separate the fat end from the skinny end. And I'm just gonna do them in like this size chunks. So we're going to chop up all of those and add them to the pan with the asparagus and let the oven preheat, get that going. So I have all the vegetables chopped up that I'm going to be roasting, and we're going to go ahead and get this stuff in the oven. Alright, so next thing I'm going to be working on is cutting up the vegetables that are going to be going into with everything else that's not going to be roasted. So we have onion and some garlic. We're also going to have some spinach and then my last leaf of Swiss chard. So we're gonna throw that in as well. So I'm gonna chop everything up nice and small. All right, so the sausage is pretty much done. Well, it's already cooked. You really just have to heat it up. So I'm going to just scoot that off to the side. And in the middle, I'm going to add the onion and the garlic. Just like that. And I'm just gonna kind of stir that in. Let that cook in the middle so they can get nice and translucent. And I'm going to go ahead and chop up the greens. Alright, so the water for the noodles is rolling. So I'm going to just add in the noodles. So these come in like this little bag, the gluten-free noodles. And so with these, they work best, I have found, if you are constantly stirring them. So I'm going to kind of put the vegetables on like a lower heat, and then we're going to stir them up so that way they don't stick. That's the reasoning why it works best that way. Alright, and then I'm going to just break them in half like that. And then like almost immediately after you drop them in, that's what I've found for these kinds of the spaghetti noodles. So then you're going to want to stir that and keep that going for about 7 minutes. So I'm going to take a break from stirring the noodles, and I'm going to add in the Swiss chard and the spinach and get that all stirred in quickly so I can go back to watching the noodles. And so I just put this on like lower heat, so it's probably on about 2. So I'm just going to stir that up and just kind of let these chill for a minute. And then, of course, go back to stirring up the noodles. Alright, so we have that in there. I'm going to add the noodles, which were done, and I immediately rinse them with cold water. So when I drain the noodles, then I just add the cold water in there and just kind of rinse them off. I take out the noodles that clumped together and I just throw the clumps away. But if you stir it, then you avoid those clumps. So there was only a couple in here. So I'm just going to stir this up together, and then we're going to begin on the seasoning. Alright, so I'm going to do my best to try to keep all the ingredients measured equally. So I'm going to be using just a half a teaspoon. So I'm going to kind of go around, and then we'll see how much that makes. We might do more. So this is pepper. That is the first thing. And you know what? Is that going to be in it? We'll see. I don't want to overdo it. The next thing is garlic powder. Alright. Half a teaspoon of that. This thing doesn't come off, so I'm just going to have to guesstimate. This is all-purpose seasoning. I'm also going to be adding a little bit of paprika. That wasn't in the recipe, so I'm only going to put like a little bit. Alright, the next thing that we're going to be using is onion powder. And then salt, which that thing doesn't come off, so I'm just going to try to mix that up. Alright, so this is the seasoning for the ramen noodles. And I'm going to taste it to see how that works. See how it's tasting. Oh! And to see if I want to add anything else to it. Alright, so let's taste a little bit. That really does taste like the ramen noodle mix. It is a little bit on the saltier side, so I'm just going to add like a little bit more of everything else. I'm going to try to keep everything else that I add the same amount. So that was one thing that I saw, was just making sure that everything is about even. So I'm going to add a little bit more of that and then stir it up, because this probably has salt in it. Yeah, it does, so should have left out the salt altogether. So just check your all-purpose seasoning, or if you have like chicken seasoning, just check that to see if there is salt in it. I didn't even think about that when I started that, but I definitely don't want this to be super salty. That's not my favorite. So let's try that. That is a lot better. I don't taste as much as the salt. All right, so that is what we're going to be pouring on there. So let me just get all that situated. All right, so I'm going to add everything else. So we have our seasoning. I'm going to sprinkle that on there. And then I'm going to be adding, this is just some chicken stock. This one is all organic, so I'm going to just pour that in enough to kind of coat the bottom. I never really liked it when my ramen noodles were really liquidy. So we're just going to stir that up and see if we want to add a little bit more. And then I'm just going to kind of let everything kind of steam. And I did not forget about the squash and the asparagus. It is still in the oven. So once this is done, or once they are done, then I will add them to here as well. So I'm just going to stir that up. I'm going to add in just a little bit more of the chicken broth. And then I'm going to put the lid on it and let everything kind of simmer together and let all the flavors kind of blend. And I did see some recipes where they put like 4 cups of that, but that's if you like it that really soupy. I always liked it when there was just like a little bit of the juice left over, but that's totally your preference. All right, so I'm just waiting on the vegetables to be done in the oven, but I'm just gonna let that simmer and put it all together. So if you have watched this far into the video, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I'm going to be posting this on Instagram, so be sure to check out the final picture. If there's anything that you guys would like me to make in the future, please let me know. I'd be glad to make those. So please be sure to like, subscribe, and comment, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.